Hello and welcome to another episode of the OnReviewCast. I'm your host here, Ash, and you're welcome to On Review. Like I said before, you go to a review show for all things media. Yeah, and today we're still on House of the Dragon, and we're looking at episode 7 of House of the Dragon on review.
HBO series House of the Dragon Season 1 Episode 7.
So, episode 7, guys. We're here. Just like every other episode, guys, let's go through the normal things, episode breakdown. This episode is episode 7 of House of the Dragon and is entitled Driftmark. It's the 7th episode, like I said, in the first season of House of the Dragon, and it's the 7th episode in the series overall. It premiered on October 2nd, 2022 on HBO and HBO Max. It was written by Kevin Lau and directed by Miguel Spotnik. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. Yeah, we're here in episode 7, and forgive me, guys, if I sound a little weird or different. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold here. But we're here. We're still doing it. We're still doing OnReviewCast because it's important. We love these series and shows and movies and TVs and all things media, like I said before. And yeah, let's just dive right into the episode. So the episode, well, wait a minute. Let's get our synopsis in. Synopsis: as families gather on Driftmark for a funeral, Viserys calls for an end to the infighting, and Alicent demands justice. Justice. She demands justice. Man. Yeah, so like I said, diving right into the episode, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, this episode shows how crazy Alicent is. That's just that. I know we're jumping like leaps and bounds ahead of, I guess what we got to talk about really here on the podcast. But that's just the honest to goodness, goodness, whatever you want to call it, truth. It's just the boldness of everything. It's just, and after considering off the heels of, funeral nonetheless, and within the family, within Daemon's wife being, murdered, just the brashness and the boldness of her is completely unbelievable in this. We still see some remnants of a lot of the old things that's been happening or that was happening from before, rearing its head again when it comes to Rhaenyra and certain members of the family. But we're going to delve into all of that definitely in a second. I want to talk about the first little bit of the actual show, though, where they start to talk about the loss of parents, really. So Rhaenyra goes up to Chase, I think it is, her firstborn, and he starts to talk about, she tells him that, go comfort your cousins. They lost them on the day that, was close to them was with parents. And he basically says that he knows a similar, discomfort or a similar pain, seeing his house or Harwin, passed away because of the Laris. His brother killed him. Apparently killed him and his dad. Wouldn't be some shit though if we just saw them in like the second season. That'd be kind of crazy, right? We saw them. So because what happened in that scene was that the fire starts in that place, the hall that's supposed to be cursed. And what happens is that you see him getting smoked out within the fire, and they do a hard cut. So it'd be some crazy shit if we just found out he's actually alive. And he's here to expose or figure out why. But that's not a large part of the season 2 of figuring out exactly why or who tried to kill him. Not like that. But if that was a soft B plot, I wouldn't be mad at it. Comment in give me some comments below, guys. Talk to us. Do you agree with that? I wonder if you guys agree with that. I think that we count somewhat interesting to a certain degree. But yeah, so everybody's at this funeral, and it's just right now they're making shifty eyes at one another because everybody's kind of sort of like playing the game of there's some inner things. It's just like on the surface kind of thing. There's just Laena's wedding, and there's some inner things that are actually happening, in the on the surface. But then there are things that are just like there are things that are happening on the surface, but then there are things that are like happening like within deeper, I want to say, for sure. And that's just how that's just how the game is played, baby. I'm sorry about that, guys. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully we get it solved. Anyway, okay. Back to the episode. So what's happening in this episode too is that I will say that I know that a lot of people have had gripes about this in terms of like the way certain characters are framed and how they look within House of the Dragon particularly. That being more or less specifically the black people that have been introduced into this whole thing now. I mean, honestly, I want to just comment on this real quick. I think we commented on when we first started seeing them. They first started showing up. I think that it's an awesome addition. I know that a lot of people don't like it because of racism and historical accuracy and all this other stuff. But I mean, who's to say that there weren't like really black people around, but they just weren't as prevalent. And I mean, there's something in this episode that Aegon, I think Viserys' first the boy who Viserys had with Alicent, he says something, and he says something along the lines of just look at them. And it was in that moment I kind of felt like the physical differences between the skin colors of the different Targaryens. I think it's a good move because it's a physical, clear, blatant difference between two races. But and it goes to further exemplify the differences of what we expect versus what we have. And we'll dive more into that later as well. But anyway, in this episode, so Laenor is having a bit of a hard time because he just lost his sister Laena, and his grief is getting the best of him, and he is falling into a state of depression as they are, mourning the death of Laena. Something I found interesting was that, as he's doing this and he's having such a hard time, it looks like he's actually about to throw himself out to sea. His father, Sir Corlys, goes to Sir Carl and is like, fetch your patron. And it just kind of it kind of exemplified everything. When I say exemplifies everything, I think it showed that he knows what's going on, what's been going on, what kind of, and it's not like he was hiding it, but he knows that what kind of relationship they have, and yet he still wanting to believe in such disbelief that these children of Rhaenyra are, of his blood. And they even have a conversation about that in this episode too, with Rhaenys and his wife and himself, about how they are not of his blood. And I think it's kind of sad because it's all based off of the fact of what, this person wants to live in this reality. They want this truth to be true, but it's not what it is. And I mean, Maury said, you're not the father. If you're not the father, you're just not the father. You're not the grandsire, you're not the grandsire. That's what it is. Oh man, yeah. But I mean, I understand. I mean, to a certain degree, I suppose despite knowing, despite understanding, despite getting what the relationship potentially is between Rhaenyra and, Sir Laenor, he still pushes this belief, this denial that those are his grandchildren and they will be on top of. That's how badly he wants to win. You know what I mean? That's so sad. But some people are just like that. They're just so convinced that they need to have this things be a certain way. They need to have these things be a certain way, and they need to, they need to believe certain truths. Honestly, that's just what it is. Realistically, something that was also really noteworthy here too, I think, was that in all of this, the king. It was a weird moment. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it was a weird moment when the king was winding down, sun's going down, everything's looking darker, and the king is ready. He's tiring because he's getting old. He's breaking down, and we've seen him breaking down physically. But I think this is the first time that we've been seeing him we saw him break down mentally. And I didn't catch it at first on the first watch. I was kind of what did he say? So what happens is Sir Kirsten and Alicent are standing next to each other, and the king comes over and he's like, he says, "I'm going to bed, Aemond," or something like that. And Alicent says, and then the one of the knights says that one of the knights asks him if he should take care of Lady Alicent, if she should look after Lady Alicent, and he kind of catches himself. He's like, "Oh, that's not Aemond or whatever that I called her," and he says, "No, that should not be necessary." And then the knight tells Sir Christian, "Oh, he has the watch." So that was the first time we ever saw the king break down. He has some kind of early onset dementia. That's what it kind of looks like. It looks like he's slowly breaking down. He's slowly being more and more degraded, even so. And like I said before, I did not expect this motherfucker to still be kicking around for this long. I didn't expect him to be up and about and still intact for this long. I think it was funny too, because I was on YouTube the other day and I saw an SNL sketch of House of the Dragon, and a good majority of the sketch is just Viserys falling apart. it's eyes just falling, and it's actually very. They're making a joke, but it's very true. It's we see happening. He's just slowly degrading over time. It's with each and every cut, is parts of him are just falling off. And like I said, I didn't expect him to make it this far. Surprising that he make it this far, but yeah, just wow. Honestly, he's like I said before, he's a fucking champ, man. He's to have survived that long though. And I only suspect that if he was maybe more in good health, he would have found a way to maybe garner a more secure peace between the situation that's actually happening between him and between the two families that actually are on the divide now. But again, more about that later. So yeah, in this episode, we also get to see. Let's just be in House of the Dragons. And I think one of the things I heard was that a lot of people aren't really into, haven't really been into, not into, but a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to. Well, they haven't seen a lot of dragons, right? They feel like it's not enough dragons in the show. I think that was a Joe Rogan podcast. Someone said that or something like that. It's where's the dragon? I want dragon. I want more dragons. And it's like, first of all, if you think about it, the way they do the dragons on the show, right? It's very CGI driven, very CGI placed, but it looks good. It does look good. It looks very realistic and it looks very plausible. And I don't know, if you want more dragons, honestly, I don't think that like people really understand. First of all, when you're making a thing, like everything has to be budgeted out, right? Everything has to be budgeted out in terms of like how we make this and what we spend money on and etc. I guarantee you the most amount of money that went into this, despite all the nice looking environment and scenery and costumes and all these other things and all these other people getting paid and X, Y, and Z, writers and makeup artists and VFX artists and all this other shit. Those dragons, the construction and the movement and all that other stuff via CGI, X, Y, and Z, putting those dragons was the most fucking expensive thing within all of this. I guarantee it, actually. I guarantee it that was the most expensive thing. And the reason I say that is because like animation and CGI stuff is not cheap. It's really not cheap to do. And they have to budget it out accordingly. So where if you wanted more dragons, honestly, you might not have gotten like a more, I don't know, either a deeper storyline or, you know, that some later more epic scenes with dragons we see later on in the series. I'm not going to spoil it, but we get there. And I mean, honestly, I in my opinion, I think the show has enough dragons. The show shows enough dragons. It's like, are you watching the same show I'm watching? Like, it has enough dragons. I don't think, and I think people are really, really hard on this show, but I don't think there's anything wrong with House of the Dragon so far. We're 7 episodes in. There's nothing wrong with really House of the Dragon. I mean, there are some mistakes, but for the most part, it's pretty good. You're not gonna satisfy everybody because this world is so captivating and everybody wants it and everybody wants it to be a certain way. You know, everybody's gonna have basically an opinion about it. Anyway, jumping back to the episode, Rhaenyra and Daemon are, well, back at it again. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because her marriage, and she basically explains this to Daemon, that her marriage is a farce. It's not really, you know, it's just for show and it's just for political aspects and etc. And she understands that, but she's hanging out with Daemon again, and these two end up fucking, and I can't help to myself, like, think to myself, like, and I guess for sure, like back then, it wasn't necessarily like a big deal, right? You know, people want to fuck their own cousins and brothers and sisters, and that's a Targaryen thing. You think you'd get used to hearing it and being exposed to it by Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon as well. But I guess personally for me, that's just fucking gross. That's always been gross. Always gonna be gross. Always will be gross. Fucking gross. Always will be gross. Was gross. All of them. But I mean, that's just what they do. And for some reason, it seems like the incest thing turns her on, and she just can't quit Daemon. She can't quit wanting to be with her uncle. As Otto Hightower said, she can't quit wanting to carry on with her uncle. Good Lord, fucking Otto Hightower. I think that that entire sequence, I couldn't just help but think that, like, couldn't you just find anyone else? I mean, like, the face of the fact that, like, Daemon is kind of like vulnerable right now, and that's kind of like even weird to say because Daemon is throughout this entire thing he's been very antagonistic. He's not necessarily been rooting for him, but we haven't necessarily been rooting. He's been an up and down character. I think that's the best way to put it. So sometimes he's anti-hero, sometimes frenemy. That's, you know, he's within that realm. So, and then there are times you actually feel for him. And I think this is an episode where you're supposed to basically feel for him and like Rhaenyra's just trying to fuck him, and like and it's like I don't know. Let me know if you get in the comments, guys. Did you guys ever? I don't know. It's a weird moral thing. I feel like Daemon was kind of like in a vulnerable position because if this was the reverse, of a woman or a male was coming onto this female after her husband died, it might just be viewed as a little bit like, he's trying to take advantage of her. And I look at it in the same light. I look at it in the same way. Well, isn't it just the same way was Rhaenyra just trying to, because she started coming on to him. She started, she's like trying to fuck this guy. And like, she just went through something like, very, in my opinion, very dramatic. And he might not show it on his face, but like he's trying to like, or he might not show it overall. But actually, no, I will say that he kind of did show it a little bit at the funeral because he was there with his kids and all that stuff, and they were having a funeral. He did the kind of like mini banquet afterwards, and he said something to Otto's Hightower like, no matter how much the leech eats, he always wants more. So there's a little bit of flair there, and he's frustrated at the situation. I can tell, and I might want to believe in the relationship that he had with Laenor. He really did love her. It seemed like to me he cared for her. He had 2 kids with her. I mean, like at this point you see Daemon in a different kind of light. But then comes along Rhaenyra, like moments after they cast her out of the scene, they had the funeral for her. She's trying to fuck him, and it's like, bitch, like what the like? I mean, again, I don't know. Maybe am I crazy? Like, let me know, guys, in the comments. Like, I just feel like, well, she could have wait a week or something to try to do that with him, or maybe like wait like a day or a couple of days at least. Like, geez, but she's just like known for doing this risque stuff, and it's like, I don't know. I just question the level of like sincerity within Rhaenyra. I mean, overall, I think she's an okay character, but like, get the guy some time no more before you go try to fuck him. Jesus, honestly. Yeah. So in this, we also see I'm forgetting his name. Viserys' second son. He's trying to acquire a dragon. He's trying to acquire a Vhagar. Vhagar, the toughest dragon. Oh, the biggest dragon. Vhagar. And that whole interaction, that exchange, with him actually trying to acquire this dragon was risky as fuck. I mean, honestly, in the first watch, I thought that this thing, it would be. I guess I just thought to myself, like, wouldn't it be some shit? If this guy was to just like, I don't know, like lose an arm or like just be eaten by this dragon or be set on fire by this dragon while he's trying to acquire this dragon, and they just come out and they find his like dead body there or like bones of him and etc. And it'd be kind of just like, well, what the fuck was trying to be happen? Because in this whole sequence here, he essentially steals Vhagar, really, because Vhagar was promised to Baela, Owen, and Lena's other children, and that is 110% what was supposed to happen. But instead, the dragon imprinted on him, and the dragon decided to let him be, the new rider. And again, like, I don't think here's my opinion on that. I think that he was wrong. He was definitely. I understand why he wanted to seek that out, and he wanted to pursue his own acquiring of a dragon, because even back in the previous episode we talked about how he Chase and the other boys were basically trying to tease him about like how he didn't have a dragon, and how how they gave him a pig for a dragon. There's some really fucked up stuff that they were doing to him, and essentially teasing him, and it drove him to do this ridiculous thing where it puts his life in danger of trying to ride and acquire Vhagar. And again, he saw an opportunity. Sorry. He saw an opportunity. He saw an opportunity, and he took it. And that's not necessarily to say that he was particularly right or correct in doing essentially what he did, right? I mean, he 110% straight up stole that dragon. And because if you think about it, like, what if you had, I know this is all fiction, but what if you had, like, I don't know, I guess a car or something like that, or you left behind something for your kids and you passed away, and some, I don't know, little shit or some other family member just comes along and tries to claim it for themselves. I kind of think about it in that kind of way, and I think that is extremely fucked up, extremely not like okay. Because you would want it to go and get a pass down to the correct person. The sequence overall, though, of the him riding on the dragon and etc., was beautiful. It was great. Again, like, I don't know how much more dragons you really want in this. Like, it's not like are your eyes closed? Like, there are dragons in this. That's for the people who said, like, oh, there's not enough dragons on the show. It's House of Dragons, a little more dragons. I don't fucking know. Anyway, so he goes for a joyride on Vhagar, and he essentially learns to, for the most part anyway, ride Vhagar, and he learns to control him for the most part. But while this is happening, Laena's kids goes to wake up Chase and his other brother to help them figure out, like, who has stolen a joyride with Vhagar. And in the meantime, Rhaenyra and Daemon are out there, just got done fucking. So gross. They just got done fucking. They are now wondering, like, essentially, like, what's going on too, because I think that it really, this big ass, and the thing is, he was trying to be so stealthy about it, like stealing Vhagar and going on a joyride with Vhagar. This big ass dragon, like, really, all this noise he's making, like, it wasn't the most stealthiest operation. I'll definitely say that. But yeah, anyway, these kids kind of approach him, and that's Chase and his little brother and Laena's two twins. They come to him and it's kind of like, well, what the fuck? Like, that was my birthright to claim, my dragon and car, etc. And I mean, honestly, they gang up on Viserys' son. First of all, they punch him and they kick him and all this other stuff. And Viserys' son is, like, taking the most of it, but like a badass, actually. I gotta admit, this is, like, pretty fucking impressive. It was like technically it was 4-on-1, and he was holding his own. Dude, it's 4 of them against his one, and he was just fighting them, and he was able to get all 4 of them basically off of him. Even though he was, they were essentially fighting against him. And then Chase Rhaenyra's first child, pulls a knife, and the odds still aren't skipped, and he was about to, smash a rock into Chase's skull, and the youngest brother kind of comes up behind him and slices his eye. And that was like the most brutal thing. I didn't think that they were gonna actually. That was a little bit of a shocking thing, for two reasons. Because at that point, it looked like it was a little tiff, and then the adults. It's so funny because then after that shit, then the adults show up. Right? Is that after that sequence, then the adults show up, and it's like, where the fuck were you? Where the fuck were you the entire time? Like, you know what I mean? But that's just like I don't know, but just for like real life, but like, because I mean, like, I wouldn't have my kids out there in the night fucking getting their eyes sliced open just because they want to go on joyrides and stealing dragons and all this other stuff. I mean, like, realistically, like, honestly, I'm not saying that he deserved it, but like, I'm saying that it should have never gotten to that point, because he shouldn't have been out there trying to steal a dragon in the first place. I mean, his ambition to steal it in the first place came from him being teased, but should have been taught to rise above that. Someone should have been talking to him. Yeah, so they slice his eye, and the second reason is that I didn't think. I was very shocked because I didn't think that they were actually going to have one of the children get maimed. I didn't remember that this is Game of Thrones and they do some very vile shit, but the way that they showed it was like very, very believable. Again, like hard cuts, but like those cuts I think were like more or less like acceptable. They weren't too bad, really. Yeah. So the next scene we see the Maester sewing up. We see the Maester sewing up the kid that got his eye sliced open, and he is, for the most part, honestly, taking it like a fucking champ. Could you imagine like getting your eye like a slice like that? Like I don't think I'd be freaking the fuck right out. Like honestly. I'd be freaking the fuck right out. Like, honestly, like, and it looked like it fucking hurt, dude. Like, he looks like kind of like Chucky now, like with the fucking sewing bandages on his on his goddamn eye. Like, it's just, there was like so much blood. But he again taking it like a fucking champ, like a stronger man than I. He was like. But he asked, Alicent asked the Maesters, like, oh, he's going to be okay though, right? He's like, no, but the wound will heal, but like, he's lost the eye. So he essentially lost an eye just because he was trying to steal this dragon. And Rhaenyra walks in and the kids all start fighting about how, he was trying to kill Chase and all this other stuff. I'm trying to explain basically what happened. And then like, Chase basically was just there and there. He called us bastards. Gasp. It's like gasp. And then the real drama fucking starts, right? Because now they want to know why this all started in the first place. And why this all went down in the first place, and this was why they got to this extreme in the first place, where a knife had to be pulled. And Rhaenyra kind of explains like they were just defending themselves because of the vile insults, of the legitimacy of their birth being put into question, and the fact that they were called bastards. And oh my God, we have all fucking been there. We've all been there. This next part, I was just very reminiscent of like you're amongst, when you get in trouble, but you don't just get in trouble by yourself. You get in trouble with like your fucking cousins or your brothers or your sisters or some shit like that. And your parent comes up to you, it's kind of like, who the fuck said that? Like, you know what I mean? Where the fuck you heard that from? Who told you that? And some shit like that. This is exactly what Viserys basically asks him. His second son, he's like, well, where did you, his second son with Alicent, he's like, well, where did you hear these slanders, these lies, boy? Tell me. And Rhaenyra is kind of like, well, yeah, where did you hear them? Like, because whoever said them should basically be held against the highest treason. And it was just so well, like, it was kind of like the dance was already on. Do you know what I mean? The dragon dance, because that's what they call it in the book, actually, this section of it. The dragon dance and the war, the infighting was already at hand with that. Because she fucking knew. Psychologically, she knew that, like, if she was saying those things, because I think she had brought it up to Viserys before, right, in those earlier episodes. She brought it up to Viserys before, and she said, like, hey, like, you know, like, don't bring this up again, and don't question the validity or the legitimacy of Rhaenyra's children. And you know that little boy, I've heard his mother say this shit 10 million times over. We know. Like, we know, we've all been there. It's like, you heard, it's kind of like, you know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like that 24 Hours of a Christmas movie. And Alfie is kind of like the first time you curse in front of your parents or some shit. And the first time it's like him and his dad are outside. I don't know if you guys have watched this movie, but like, I was real quick segue. But him and his dad are outside. It's snowing outside, and they have a tire. They're just coming from the mall, and his dad like pop a tire. Like they need to change the tire, so they pull over, and his dad has like the lug nuts that he's taking off, and they put them in a little bowl. And I guess Alfie, the kid in the movie, drops the bowl somehow. I think he says he's startled or something. I don't know what happens. And then he says, "Oh, fudge." And then the monologue in the background is like, "Only thing is, guys, I didn't say fudge." So he said, "Fuck," right? And he's like, the first time you cuss in front of your father. Or your father, and it's kind of like, oh, and his dad kind of just like looks at him, and I think, I can't remember either his mom or his dad. Probably his dad asks him. No, probably his mother. Yeah, his mother asks him. No, So that's what happened. Sorry, they go back in the car. They get in the car, and they're like, the dad tells the mom, "He's like, you know what your son just said? Do you know he just uttered the words that he just uttered?" And she's like, "Oh no, what did he say?" He whispers in the air, because it's like, it's a family show, and the mom's like, "What did you say?" and then they just hard cut to like him moving soap in his mouth, and then the part that really really just like connects this to like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, is kind of like, his mom says, like, where did you hear this word? Where did you hear this word? Tell me where you heard it. Tell me where you first heard it. How do you even know to use that word? And then he's again, these inner monologues, and he's like, I heard my father say those words 10 million times. So they hear it from the parents. They hear that shit. Any kind of gossip or anything bad, you're really judging for the kid. They hear that shit from you, and it's like, it's so funny. And so Alfie in the movie, he lies. He said, I heard it from Schwartz, and so Alfie's mom calls Schwartz, and he's like, well, my boy Alfie just said, and then she says, she's like, oh, but you know what? He said he heard it first from Schwartz. And then the mom on the phone is like, what? And then you just hear in the background, Schwartz is getting his ass kicked. Oh, Bob, what did I do? What did I do? Why? And she just hangs up, click. Oh, super ultra mega tangent, I know, guys, but that is what it reminded me of. And that scene is so funny in 24 Hours of a Christmas Story. Oh my god, such a good movie, so funny. Honestly, as Christmas time's coming up, maybe pretty soon, maybe take a look at that movie. But anyway, so Viserys questions the boy, and he's like, well, where did you hear this from? And tensions is all around the room, and we all know where he heard it, right? Sorry. We all know where he heard it. He heard it from Mama. He heard that shit from his mother. And, well, but he lies because he knows, because he fucking loves his mother. He lies and he says, I heard it was Aegon. And the reason he lies is like, he's not, you know, he even knows as a child that Viserys isn't going to harm Aegon because he's next in line to the throne, right? And he's like, and you, boy, where did you hear it? And he questions Aegon. And the thing is, Aegon doesn't really answer. He says, me? He says, me? You heard it from me? Like, he questions it. He doesn't fight against him. He doesn't say, like, no, you're lying. And that just shows the loyalty within, I suppose, like, the family, even though that side of the family, even though it's, like, super duper fucked. He just says, we know, grandfather, we know, father. Look at them. Just look at them. Look at them. They're so different. And you know what? And again, like, I go back to the part about them having different skin colors and introducing these characters in Game of Thrones that are now black, and etc. And that's what this is all about. And the funny thing is, when he said, just look at them, look at how weird they look, or look how different they look. We look around the room, and I look around the room, the camera pans around the room, and it's like, yeah, different people, different skin color, but everybody had the same hair color. And it's like, oh, you know something wrong. It's like, we all know, grandfather, we all know that, you know, Rhaenyra's children aren't her. And her hair color, just because of and it was more distinct because of the hair color. Because yes, everybody have different skin color within that family, and that's fine. But it's specifically the hair color, the white hair color, that if they were really inbreeding with one another, you know, like Rhaenyra is supposed to be doing, their hair would be white, but their hair is black. So, it's kind of like, grandfather, we know, father, we know this is all bullshit. And Viserys is kind of like demanding that all of this stops, all of this infighting stops, and he says, like, your king, your grandfather, and I desire for this to stop. And Alicent, we finally got to this part. Alicent being the crazy bitch that she is. Honestly, man. I mean, fuck. Like, it truly is amazing. It truly is amazing the degree of a woman, of how crazy, you know, how crazy they would go, and the things and lengths that they would go through to essentially fucking not only feel justified, but prove that they're right and prove that they're correct in their justification. But like, honestly, a line that Laenor says in this very fucking episode, but not pertaining to this, is like, she forgets herself. Honestly, she fucking thinks that she can order Sir Christian to bring her the eye of one of Rhaenyra's children. This is Rhaenyra's second child, and she does it right in front of everybody. This is the thing, is like, this is like wide in the open. Like, everybody, like, you can see her defiance against the king right there and then. And she's like, if the king will not warn her or go after justice, the queen will. And she's like, so Christian, go and get that eye for me. And she's like, and the king basically says, no, you will not. And Alicent's like, no, you are sire to me, you will obey me. And this bitch really thinks she in charge. You know what I mean? This bitch is crazy. She really thinks she in charge. And she's like, no, you're sworn to me. And Christian's like, as your protector, because like, I don't want to get in trouble either. Like, essentially that's what it was. It's like, I don't want to get in trouble. It's like, leave me out of this. Like, I'm your protector. I can't do that. And then fucking the most ridiculous shit happens, where she's like, okay, you know what? Then fine, I'll fucking do it myself. And she goes to grab the mic's peaking a little bit, sorry about that. And she goes to fucking grab the Aegon's dagger, the sacred dagger that basically kills the White Walker at the end of the Game of Thrones. And she goes to fucking stab this child and take this child's eye. And of course, Rhaenyra stops her. And it's chaos in this hall. And these children are screaming, freaking the fuck out. Rightfully so, as this crazy redheaded bitch is coming after them with this fucking dagger to try to fucking take one of their eyes. Bitch, how old are you? Do you know what I mean? Like, how old are you? How immature? One, and how like fucking like really an eye for an eye? Like everybody's and they're still related to you. They're still your family. Why are you trying to fucking hurt them? Like, what the fuck? Honestly. And Rhaenyra and Alicent basically has the dagger, and Rhaenyra is basically holding her hand to stop the blade from reaching her children, essentially. And Alicent basically monologues about how, and it's basically what we've been talking about this entire podcast. I mean, with this series of this entire podcast, about how the difference between, you know, these two women and the experience between these two women have been so different and so damaging and so impactful on them to making these choices that they're making, that it all bubbles up to basically her attempting to harm essentially her own family, really, because they're all family. And while the Rhaenyra is holding her back, Rhaenyra actually does something smart, and she actually lets her Alicent stab her or slice her, and it's because the line that she basically gives her before she does it. She's like, "Well, we'll finally let you see. They'll finally be able to see who you really are." And she like backs up from the knife, but she makes sure the knife hits her, but not in like a deadly area. And she draws first blood. First blood. She's the aggressor, and realistically, she's the aggressor. She was the aggressor way long before that, because she had, even though it was Sir Larys, she had her husband killed and her grandfather to her kids, her biological father to her kids, and father killed in that fire because of Sir Larys, even though it was a mistake. But she drew first blood with that dagger, and everybody was like looking around, and the first thing Rhaenyra actually does is look at, you know, her father is kind of like, "Oh, what the fuck, Dad?" You know what I mean? Like, you see this crazy shit? And man, it is some crazy shit, because Alicent is fucking crazy, and the reason she's crazy is because of Otto fucking Hightower manipulating the shit out of her. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. She brought it to this point, and you take away a motherfucker's ability to choose and do what they want to do, be happy, fuck who they want to fuck. Of course they gonna go crazy. Like, what do you expect to happen? Of course they're gonna go insane and try to maybe hurt someone. Like, you gotta let people be free and make their own choices. But when you, like, again, you manipulating someone, you're trying to, like, get them to do X, Y, and Z, it's not gonna work out. 110% is not gonna work out. Which is crazy. I can't believe she just tried to, like, take his eye just like that, and that's attack the princess like that. Just ridiculous. And then in that scene too, we see a clear divide, now more even ever so, between two families of Alicent's family and Rhaenyra's family. And it's fucked up. Anyway, Otto fucking Hightower goes to try to talk to Alicent about basically what happened and tell her that, oh, it wasn't as bad as she probably thought it was for, you know, her son. He lost an eye, but he gained a dragon. And basically that, you know, you might have acted like the fool, but Viserys is essentially going to forgive you. And you should cling to him and cling to his mercies and X, Y, and Z. And it all very true. But and then he adds something at the end. He's like, if you just obey everything I say, you know, you and I will win this at the end of the day. And oh my God, like this man who's just manipulative and fucking wicked. It's just ugh. Just if it wasn't for him, none of this shit would have basically been happening. Honestly. Really out of fucking Hightower. And the only reason that he was able to be back as the Hand of the King was because of the murder that Alicent had Sir Larys basically do. And the second he got, because Sir Larys' father was King of the Hand, and Sir Larys murdered him. So second that happened, Sir Hightower was fucking right back there. Anyway, really. What else do we want to basically say about this episode? Yeah, guys. I mean, this one was essentially okay. There's nothing really else really to say too much about. I guess about this. Oh, right. I want to talk about that real quick. About how so after this whole get together because of the funeral, Rhaenyra and Daemon. Sorry, Rhaenyra and Daemon go to fucking They go and watch as Alicent and the King basically leave to go back to King's Landing, and they're in Driftmark, and they have the idea of essentially, getting married. And the reason that they want to get married is, Rhaenyra wants to marry Daemon because she thinks that it'll bring her more power and bring her more security when it comes to securing her Targaryen blood. And again, I can't help but think that, I mean, if Rhaenyra had just married him, or if they're cool with the incest thing already, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, if Viserys, even though she was a child, Viserys had just married Daemon off to Rhaenyra, because they were fucking around anyway. They wanted to go about, they were fucking about anyway, and they ended up fucking now anyway in the future. So if Viserys just let that happen and let that play out, Alicent wouldn't even be a thing again, right? With Alicent, it wouldn't even really be a really necessarily need for Alicent, because that's how they would have continued their line. If they want to inbreed so much, that's their choice. And Daemon brings up the fact that in order to get married, Laenor would need to be dead. And now I thought that this is pretty sadistical, that she would just go up and straight up fucking kill this guy because, at the position that he has and the position that he's essentially in. I thought that was kind of fucked up, but apparently in the books, they do actually kill him. But in this Netflix adaptation, he doesn't necessarily, I should say Netflix, I don't know, HBO, sorry. HBO adaptation, he doesn't necessarily get murdered. His death is faked, and we see him at the end rowing off with Sir Carl to parts unknown, essentially. And they get married, Daemon and Rhaenyra, and that's the end of it, really, and that's the end of the episode. A lot of things happened in this episode. Overall, I think the big thing was, we clearly saw the divide between the family and the Dance of the Dragons are coming to a head and coming to the potential beginning of it, essentially. But yeah, that's basically it for the episode. Now we're gonna do a segment called Ash's Favorite Scenes and Ash's Worst Scenes. It's part of the show where we say what his favorite scenes are within this episode, and we say what our worst scenes. We're gonna go with worst scenes first. The worst scene in this, honestly, I think, was the fact that although, I mean, I guess the something that could have been done a little bit, well, all of it was okay. First of all, let's just get this out of the way. All of it was pretty good. Okay? But I guess I didn't really like the whole fact that how Sir Laenor was kind of like mourning the death of Laenor, and how he was basically useless throughout this entire thing. No, wait. I want to change my answer. I think the worst scene was the scene with Daemon and Rhaenyra fucking. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I also think it's kind of contradictory. If they had just gotten together in the first place, a lot of heartache would have been spared. And I don't know. I thought that was it's kind of weird. It's like, okay, yeah, they ended together and etc. But not the most favorite scene, mostly because I'm not down with the incest, but like a majority of it is also kind of like, well, they could have gotten together like years ago in the first place if they were cool with it, and etc. Anyway, and they were getting together anyway, so it was happening anyway. It's coming in hot at number 3 for the favorite scene is honestly the interaction with Vhagar and Viserys' second son when he got a chance to actually mount this dragon. Yay for him, he got a dragon, but the way that he acquired it was kind of fucked. The dragon overall, that whole sequence of him learning to fly and etc. looked very real and believable. Liked it, thought it was a cool thing. All right, second favorite scene. Honestly, within this, I think it's got to be the scene with the kids and them actually fighting, and how he was taken down. Viserys the second time took on all 4 of them, and he was getting ganged up on, but he found a way to honestly fight back and take on all 4 of them. Even though he lost an eye in the process, he had the upper hand for a really, really, really long time until Chase pulled a dirty move and threw some sand in his face. It's a really dirty move. It's like, I don't know. Is it medieval times? Is it really considered a dirty move? That's what I'm trying to get at, but whatever. And coming in hot at number 1, the number 1 favorite scene for this episode has got to be Alicent's fucking true colors being shown. Being seen here as a crazy fucking bitch. Honestly, like, I mean, the fact that we actually get to see Alicent physically attack Rhaenyra, right? Physically attack Rhaenyra and physically attack her. It's the point where she's drawn first blood in this war that's upcoming that we know about. That was a significant thing. That's actually a really big thing for me because it signifies that yes, she is the aggressor. She's the one who started it, and she and her children are not the rightful heir to the throne. They're honestly not. And it just spoke volumes. And that scene, apparently from what I heard, the actors had a really, really hard time fucking doing the scene. But they had like 5 days of shooting the scene because they kept cracking up because they thought it was, I don't know, they couldn't keep a straight face doing it. But it looked great in the end. The shots that they finally ended up with and they finally ended up using was very, very good. And it was great. It was great. I just think that was just the most dramatic piece in this as well. And it's just it was the climax of this episode for sure. And it showed that everything that Alicent was. It showed all of her insecurities and all of her worries bubbling up to the surface. But yeah, that's definitely going to be number 1. Linda, can we get the on-review score, please?
House of the Dragon episode 7 receives a 5 out of 5.
But anyway, guys, listen, I'm out of time. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it all the way to the end, I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And this is episode 7, and we got, I think, a few more to go. But thank you for rocking here with us here at the OnReviewCast. And don't forget to follow all of our socials. You know, the Facebook, the Instagram, Twitter, do all the social things. Be social and do all those things. You know, it's good to be social. And lastly, guys, don't forget, be safe, be kind, be you. Take care.